In this video, I am going to talk about the book American Prison, a reporter's undercover journey into the business of punishment, written by Shane Bauer. This book presents an undercover investigation in a private prison of Corrections Corporation of America in Winfield, Louisiana. The protagonist of this book is the author, Bauer, and the book alternates chapters between Bauer's daily life as a officer in the prison with slavery's history in the United States. Bauer installed a camera in his watch and a microphone in his personal pen to capture everything he could from the prison. He signed up for a job as correction officer in this prison to discover how the inmates are treated and how are the conditions in private prisons. He discovered that private prisons conditions can be very underwhelming. In Winfield, there were several problems, such as understaffing, lack of medical care, officers' extreme use of force and power, violence between prisoners and between prisoners and officers. In this picture, we can see Bauer in one of the prison's toilets, and he took this picture with his watch. In the beginning of the book, a layout of the prison is presented. In the left side of the layout, we can see the ash unit, where Bauer used to work. Each unit has 4 tiers, and each tier houses 88 inmates, which indicates that per unit there are 352 inmates. As I mentioned before, lack of medical care was a big problem in this prison. In this picture, we can see an inmate being taken to the infirmary. For the second time in one day, an inmate is taken to the infirmary for having debilitating chest pains. He asks to be taken to the hospital, but CCA, which would have to foot for the bill, declines his request. Throughout the book, this is an issue very well presented. It is often presented some inmates who need to go to the hospital or because of big injuries, but CCA the majority of the times declines because it would cost too much. The only times when inmates are actually taken to the hospital is when they are almost dying, and some of them actually die in the hospital. In this picture we can see one of the inmates who died in the hospital. Damien Costley being held in a suicide watch cell. Inmates on suicide watch are not allowed reading material, clothing, or a mattress, and they are given meals that fall below USDA dietary standards. Costley was on suicide watch because he tried to commit suicide several times. The conditions in suicide watch and in the prison overall made him think that his life inside the prison was not going well, and he wanted to commit suicide. When inmates are in suicide watch, they should stay there until a psychologist says otherwise. However, Costley was taken out from suicide watch and he was taken to segregation, where officers should check on inmates every 30 minutes. However, after 1 hour and a half in the segregation, Costley decided to commit suicide in his cell. He didn't die immediately, he was taken to the hospital and he died there. When his mother, Wendy Porter, arrived to the hospital, she was shocked by her son's shape. The absence of psychological help and the conditions in suicide watch made Costley stop eating as a protest, which was reported by an officer as playing games and trying to manipulate the system. Cases like Costley's and other inmates inform quite well how some inmates are treated and how some private prisons have poor conditions. The author says throughout the text that public prisons can have better conditions than the private ones.
And now, to conclude my video, I'm going to give my personal reaction on the text. Several times throughout the text, I was shocked by some officers' behaviors. They often show intention in attacking the prisoners. Even some of them think that prisoners should be there to be treated as slaves, which is something that I highly disagree. Because prisoners might be in prison for committing a crime, but that doesn't mean that they don't deserve respect or human rights. I highly recommend this book because it proves very well that some private institutions don't always provide the best conditions. The text also reinforced the idea that corruption and excess of power are a worldwide problem and it is lasting too long to cease. Thank you for listening to my presentation.